Welcome back to Corey and Kate's podcast.
This is the default sound. It sounds pretty cool. Then we'll put some little, ooh, yeah. Put some clapping in there. Anyway, it's exciting. No one cares about that stuff.
Why not? Come on, it's the vibe.
It's the vibe, okay?
The vibe.
It's the vibe. Okay, next one. Here we go. So what are we talking about today? So we just did one, the first one ever we did on asking each other's questions. Which was kind of interesting. Now, the next one we're going to be doing today is
talking about our jobs.
So we're talking about jobs we had, which is somewhat interesting. And then
we'll see how the conversation goes.
Well, I want to do one with like some other people where we get some other people on here and we talk about what they've done but no, we're just getting started with this whole thing.
Just getting started.
Okay, cool. So you go first.
Cool. Well, do we want to? Let's pass off. Like
back and forth?
Yeah, back and
forth. Hammer it out really quickly. What was your first job ever? And how old were you?
Okay. So my first ever job was at McDonald's in the drive-thru, working the drive-thru.
That's typical.
Being like, hey, would you like fries with that?
That
was my job. Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah. I remember being freezing cold in the drive-thru box.
I remember I actually went to McDonald's. I think I had an interview. I didn't end up working there. I'm not sure if they offered it to me, but I never actually worked in McDonald's.
My manager's name was Andy. Yeah, I was 16. I had just turned 16.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I had my first job at 14 and a half, I believe.
Was that the construction job?
That was the construction job, which we talked about. But to quickly recap, that I got fired after 2 weeks of working this job, which was I don't know how I got the job. I don't know where it came from. I don't know how I don't know anything about this job. Somehow I was 14 and a half and I started working construction. And I was like really, really skinny as a kid.
And it's not like you were a super outdoorsy, manual labor kind of guy.
Hated manual labor. I was super skinny. Hated construction. Like just hated everything about like getting dirty and manual labor. It just wasn't fun. Wasn't my thing.
No, you were like OCD and ADD. I wouldn't label you as like full blown either of those, but you definitely had like tendencies.
Yeah, I definitely had OCD. I still do, but it's gotten like way more relaxed than what it was. It was so bad. Well, we can talk about that another time. Yeah. It was like so bad to the point of like I would be at a restaurant and I would watch the waiter bringing the food out from the restaurant, and depending on how they were holding it, depicted if I was going to eat it or not. Like imagine, let's do this thing. Imagine this little coaster here is a plate. If they were walking it out like this, I'm like, okay, that's cool. But then some people would like hold it down here.
Like right under your chin.
Right under their face. And like crazy me being like overanalyzing and being like, oh my gosh, germs, disease everywhere.
Like the air coming out of their nose is blowing on my food.
I would look at them and I'd be like, okay, are you breathing out of your mouth or are you breathing out of your nose? Because if you're breathing out of your nose, then air's going down onto my food. And I would like watch this. I'd like try to determine where they were breathing as they were bringing the food out. And then I would look and then they put the plate down and I'd be like, I don't know if I want that.
This is so psycho.
Or it'd be like really weird stuff of like, I'd be there with some friends and then someone would touch my plate. This is like from like a Leonardo DiCaprio video, I think, the airplane one. But Aviator. In the Aviator movie. Yeah, someone touches like his plate, and when I saw that, I'm like, "Frig, that's like just like me." It's like if anyone touched my plate, like if you touched it right here, I would literally with the fork get all the food that was right here and brush it over to separate it. Because like I don't know, when you're OCD and you have like this idea of like germs are everywhere. My idea is the moment somebody touched that, the germs that made contact with my plate
would spread in that little area, and
they started running. I literally was.
They would just run.
I would imagine.
That's how you imagine it.
The germs started running to my plate, so I'm like, cut the line, like separate, and then push it over. So now, like this food from here over is clean, and this food's bad.
I've never thought of germs as like running around, like destroying everything.
Yeah. That's like my thought process back then was literally like the moment contact happens, now they're running and they're trying to spread. So it's like we got to split this and cut this.
You lived in like a whole other place.
It was really bad. I hated it so
reality.
much. I'm like actually so happy that it's like not to that level. Anything. It's not even close to that level.
No,
anymore.
You actually like share straws with me and everything.
Oh yeah, I didn't. We're totally getting off track here.
Anyways, but that was your first job.
We should talk about that one time. We should like go into depth on like the crazy things you think about when you're OCD.
Yeah.
Of like just mental.
Yeah.
It's insane.
We should go into that for sure.
Too funny. Yeah. So construction did that. And then I got fired and we talked about this, but the first job they put me on was this empty construction site something was going on, and they're like, dump this kid here and dig a hole. It was like a 5x5 hole. Yeah, the second, I was only digging like 6 inches a day. They expected me to like dig this whole hole in one day. And now looking back, I'm like, it would have taken like 2-3 hours to do this thing. But after 2 days of this, like maybe dug a foot down. I was just like running around having fun as a 14-year-old. I didn't want to work or anything.
And then they fired you.
No, well, then they moved me. They're like, okay, let's give this guy a second chance. They moved me to a mall.
Yep. You spoke about this.
But that was on a different podcast.
Oh, okay.
But then I had to scrape. They told me to scrape the
glue off.
The glue, and
like a good little boy.
I was trying. I'm like doing this, and I could barely do it because my arms were so weak. I'm like, and so like older dude came over and like showed me how to do it. I'm like, I don't want to freaking do that. It's like it's awful. Like you're like sweating. So then they moved me again. I was at the mall for a few days. Then they moved me. Probably took like a week to just like scrape this glue off, and then so I got moved to Times Colonies, which is a newspaper, and it was a basement bathroom, and they were like, they gave me this big machine, like a big automatic chisel machine. So it was like you would just hold it and go boom, like buzz everything off.
Yeah.
And so I go around like chiseling all these tiles off, but I sucked. I was like 14. I had no idea what I was doing. I would do this, and then just go straight through the concrete and like gouges of concrete and like holes all over the place. So when they actually came back at the end of the day to check up on me, they'd realize I had done more damage to this bathroom, and then they basically had to bring somebody in to like fix everything I had just done. I just like smashed, like instead of just taking the tile off that they could then just like retile, I freaking like dozed all the concrete walls down. So there's basically like half a wall was missing. So
okay,
I sucked.
We've had enough of you.
It was a worst job anyway. So yeah, let alone they called me and said, we don't have any more work for you.
Yeah,
and that was I literally
we'll never have work for you.
So vivid thinking about that, but I hated it. Biggest fear in life was having to go back to a construction job.
That's true. But my first job, I actually worked there for like 6 months at McDonald's. Yeah. And then when I moved cities, they actually wanted me to transfer, but I was like, I'm done with McDonald's.
I feel like you were a way better employee. Because
I'm a really good employee.
If I go through like all my lists, I'll just like hammer through them really quickly because I had a lot. So like, it was construction, got fired after 2 weeks. Then I got hired at Taco Bell. Did the interview. They were like, yeah, cool. So I came in, they gave me the Taco Bell uniform, and then I went home to start my shift the next day, and I just didn't show up. I'm like, this sucks. I don't want to freaking create tacos at a mall. So that I was technically hired for 24 hours, never worked a single shift, Taco Bell. Second one was the store called Seeing is Believing in downtown Victoria, and got hired. They were really pumped to have me. I was kind of excited.
That was like a toy store, right?
It's a really cool toy store that does like all kinds of weird, funky stuff. That didn't work. I got hired and then decided I didn't want to work there. So
within a day or
within a day,
within 1 day,
within a day,
you just said, peace.
What happened with this is they hired me, and then I was walking downtown. I was walking through the mall, and Earl's restaurant had just opened up. And a recruiter at Earl's, they were brand new restaurants. They had to hire a ton of people. They just saw me walking there, and I think I had resumes in my hand. So they came up to me and said, hey, do you want a job? And literally just handed me the job right there. I had no experience, nothing.
Oh, that's how you got it?
So that's how I got Earl's. And then so I called the people back. I'm like, I don't want the other job. So literally, it was like Taco Bell got hired, didn't work there. Seeing is Believing toy store, got hired, didn't end up working there. Then got hired at Earl's. They put me as a dishwasher. They literally were like, okay, we'll hire you as a dishwasher, but then we'll move you up to line cook really quickly.
Oh, really?
So promises. That's pretty cool. And then plus the pay was way higher, plus the tips and all that stuff. So I worked dishwasher for a month, and then they moved me to line cook. But that sucked so bad.
Really? More than dishwashing?
I'm a just bad employee. So first off, I would start around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, or 2 o'clock in the afternoon, or no, it was 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but you'd work till midnight. It was a super long shifts. But what I would do is I would come in, because it was really, after a few shifts, I realized, okay, you come to work at 3 o'clock. No one comes into Earl's at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Everyone comes in 5, 6, 7 p.m. for dinner. So when it was really slow, I was in charge of making appetizers. So I would sit there and I'm like, well, this doesn't make any sense because I have nothing to do for 2-3 hours when I first get here. It doesn't get busy for a couple hours till around 5 or 6. Why don't I just pre-make everything?
Brilliant idea.
So, and obviously, Earl's is not cool with that. We don't want pre-made food. So No
Just
one's
sitting there for 2 hours
no one-
before they serve it.
yeah, no one's paying attention to me though. I'm just like over in my own little area.
What could you even pre-prep though?
Everything. I would sit there. So I had like my booth, my little line of all my stuff, and I started realizing like what people were ordering. I'm like, I know we're gonna get a lot of these.
Uh-huh.
So I would cook everything. I'd make the sushi rolls. I'd cook like the tuna, everything they had, little tuna stacks and the sushi rolls and whatever, all the appies. I would pre-make everything and then cram it in the fridge at like 3:30 in the afternoon. And then
When people eat them at like 6 or 7.
they'd eat them at like, and then they'd be served like 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 o'clock at night. But because I would like literally an order would come in, I would grab it, pop it up, and like ding, done, it's ready to go. But like you would look at the sushi, and because it'd been sitting for like 5 hours,
It wasn't fluffy.
It's not fluffy. The rice is like squished and it's all like soaked, and everything just looks. Anyways, so I started getting complaints on that one.
Yeah.
But I still would I would try, like when people weren't looking, I'd be like, I'm going to pre-make this. I'd pre-make stuff as much as I could, but then they'd keep making complaints. But anyways, I didn't get fired. I actually worked that.
They just complained.
I worked there all summer and then went back to school. That was a funny one. I remember they really hated that. And I just, for some reason, couldn't like comprehend. I'm like, Corey, don't pre-make the food. Corey, please don't pre-make the food today. I'm like, I'm gonna pre-make the food. Don't pre-make the food, Corey. I'm okay. I'm gonna pre-make it. I'm gonna make just a little bit today. Okay. I'm just gonna make 50.
Just a few.
Just 50 rolls. But Corey, we don't even go through 50 rolls a day. It's like that's okay. That's okay.
I'll tone it down. Fine, like 25.
Makes my job easier. Whatever makes my job easier is what I'm gonna do. It's terrible.
All right. Where else did you work?
After Earl's, then I worked at a music store, which is really cool, and then I worked at a toy store, which is fantastic. Those were both fun jobs. Mm-hmm. Worked those in order to pay for when I went traveling. So yeah, worked at a toy store, or music store. Like literally, I'd work like 8 hours or 7 hours in the morning at the toy store. I'd get to the toy store at like 7 in the morning, and I'd work there till 2:30 in the afternoon. And then at 2:30, I'd run over to the music store, which was like a block away, and work there from 2:30 till 8 p.m.
How long did you work those two jobs?
I think like 6 months. I'd work from like 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. and it was pretty much like I think it was like 6 days a week is I'd work there.
Dang.
It was insane.
Yeah. Well, but you saved up like $7,000 or something, right?
Yeah, I mean I made enough. I had like money and then plus all the money for traveling, so I had nothing else to do.
Totally worth it.
Like 17.
Yeah.
And then I worked, and then it was cool is when after those jobs when I went traveling, there's a cafe that I'd always go to for lunch, and they were like, "Hey, when you come back from traveling, we have a job for you." So I went to Toast.
It was already lined up.
Went to Toast Cafe, and I don't know why they didn't fire me either, because like I feel like every job I go to, I just like find like how can I like work the least amount, or like just I don't know. I would just try to like do weird stuff. Like even at the music store, I'd like pre-prep everything that I think was going to happen. So I would like I don't know, just do all kind of weird stuff. But then I remember at this Toast Cafe, I would do sandwiches. And for some reason in my head, I was like, hey, if I make the biggest, baddest sandwich in the entire world,
Everyone will love it.
Everyone's going to love coming here. And they were already pretty big. Like, they were like big honking sandwiches at this restaurant anyways. But for some reason, Corey, when the rules are like, okay, put 2 tomatoes, 2 pickles.
Yeah, very specific amount.
One slice of, it was very, very much like, this is how we make a sandwich here, which I totally get. It makes complete sense. It's like, you don't follow these instructions, I have no idea what the cost of this freaking sandwich costs, and then it's going to be inconsistent. But Mr. Corey over here, his brain was like half developed, just sitting there like, no. I'll make my own sandwich.
I'll make
I would make these sandwiches, and it would be like 5 tomatoes, 6 pickles. We're gonna like triple the meat up. Like it would go from like being like a sandwich which you could like manage to being a sandwich that you literally could not put in your mouth. But when you get it, it's like, wow, that's a big sandwich. So
and you're
people
like,
would comment on it whenever they brought it out, and then obviously the owners would be like, Corey, that sandwich was like twice as big as it's supposed to be. Like we're gonna lose money. So I remember that happened, and then I just for some reason couldn't comprehend that in my mind.
What? How did your brain work?
Any moment I had, I'm like, let's just put more in there as much as I could. That was bad. And then I remember there was what was the other thing that happened at this place? I literally had it and then I lost it. What was it?
I don't know. I feel like you would have friends come you'd give them free food.
No.
Oh, the little coupons that you would give your grandma and she would come in and get free stuff.
We can't talk about that on here. People would come in with the coupon and I would take the coupon and they'd keep the coupon and then give it to like friends and be like, here's the coupon. Oh my gosh.
Well, okay. You think the people from Toast Cafe are going to watch this?
I don't know. The cafe's not in business anymore.
Oh.
And
well, you helped out on that. I think.
I don't know. Oh man, no, I didn't know because they were in business for a long time after I left.
It's not your fault.
But I just look back and I was like a kid working at these jobs. I'm like, man, I was an idiot. Like, I don't. Yeah. Anyways, that was a fun. I met weird people. Like that's where I met that weird dude who I slept with in a bunk bed.
Okay, can you like rephrase that because?
Yeah, that was weird. We don't even want to talk about that. There's like some dude who came in there. Like, it was just like weird people I met.
This was a traumatic event. I don't know if we'll share that in this podcast.
Yeah, we should talk about this another time.
It wasn't like, it wasn't sexual. It was just like.
No, of course not. Just a creepy weird dude who like literally invited me over to his house and wanted me to work with him and then.
As a photographer,
and ended up like being really weird and really well.
Yeah, you had a hard time with that.
We'll talk about that another time.
Yeah, that's another chat. That's a big chat.
Oh, no, there's something happened. I can't remember what it was that was going on at this.
All right. Well, while you think of that,
yeah, I can't think about it. Go ahead.
Let's move on to my second job because I've only talked about my one job. Okay, so
you worked at McDonald's.
First worked at McDonald's. I was 16. Yeah. Worked there for like the year, and then I moved to Victoria. And I worked at a grocery store called the Market on Mill Stream, and I actually was in the deli section.
I worked at a grocery store as well.
Really?
I don't have it in my list, but I definitely worked there.
I was like that girl that would slice the giant hams in the slicer machine.
You were the deli person.
Yeah.
I was a stalker. I was a stalker.
You're a stalker.
I would just walk. Actually, that's realistic. That's probably what actually happened. Like looking back at being like 16 years old. I had so many jobs between the age of 14 and like 14 and 17.
Yeah.
The amount of jobs. Like,
well, and that's what I making this list. I realized that I had most of my jobs like within a short period of time, and then as I got older, I would stay with jobs longer.
Those jobs just suck so much, though. I'm like. I'm sorry. If you work at these jobs, great. I mean, a job is a job, and it's good to have a job. But these jobs suck nuts. Like working at a flippant like construction sucks. Like digging holes.
I mean, some people do enjoy that. I obviously don't understand it. People do like working with their hands.
They love working outdoors. I guess the difference is if you're working construction and you're actually building crap. Like if you're building like. You're a carpenter and you're actually like building a product that's really nice that you know.
And you have like a creativity and art that goes into it.
Or you're building a condo, like you're actually building something. Construction in my mind, from my memory, is odd jobs. Odd job construction is what sucks because it's not like you're ever like, oh yeah, congratulations, you dug a hole. Congratulations, you put up like.
There's no like recognition.
10,000 boards of plywood or what? Well, it's like what are you building? Like you're not actually like, there's no finished product. It's just like you're just. Digging a hole or like sweeping up.
It's not like you were a part of like a big skyscraper.
So all these things, even like working at a grocery store, cutting deli meat, or like what's there like stocking shelves.
Yeah,
it's like oh my gosh. Like
it's a job. I mean, I think they're really good for teenagers.
Oh, they're great. Yeah. They're great. I mean, that's what they are. They're summer jobs.
Yeah,
but it's kind of funny looking back on these jobs because you're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, and like the next job that I remember after the deli was. At a tanning salon.
Oh, yeah.
And I worked there for the longest. I actually think I worked there for like 14 months, which is a very, very long time for me, at that age. It was called Arizona Suntans.
14 months. That's insane. It's a long time.
I loved that place.
And you always talk about it.
Yeah. It was like the first job where I was like, I was excited to go to work and I enjoyed being there. It was so relaxing. Everyone came in with happy. It's not like we are working in the food industry where people are unhappy all the time until they get their food right? It's like these people are pampering themselves. They're going to the tanning salon and they feel good about themselves and they have nice conversations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Doing tanning salon. That would have been a good one.
Yeah.
I could have done that. Just sit there.
Yeah, you sit there and then
swipe the card.
Well, and you clean all the beds and everything and do the laundry and
yeah.
I felt like responsibility there because I would run the whole thing.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, that's why I like working at the music store and the toy store, actually, because you're actually like, oh, you actually have responsibility, and you feel like you're actually doing something.
Yeah.
Setting up like window displays and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Which is actually really fun. It's the other jobs that
where you feel like super insignificant, just like stocking shelves. Or doing whatever.
Stocking shelves, man. There was a guy at the grocery store at Thrifty's. So pretty much like obviously you have everyone who's like a stalker or whatever, you walk around with the dolly and stock the shelves. All those people, we're all like 15, 16, 17
super
years
young.
old. Super young. We're just like, what the hell is going on? And then there was this one guy, actually there were a couple, but there were like this one guy in particular who was old. Like he was 65 or 70 years old, and he'd been working at this Thrifty's his entire life. And I remember like he was a really nice guy and we all knew him really well. But he literally had like he'd finished school and right from high school had gone into working at Thrifty's, and he'd just never been promoted. I mean, probably gotten pay raises, but he was...
And had worked there forever?
He was like freaking like 20, imagine being 20 years old or 18 years old, going to work at a grocery store, and now you're 65, 70, whatever he was.
Working at that same grocery store.
Same grocery store, same position. He's been stocking shelves for 50 years. Like maybe he's making a bit more.
Was he happy?
No, the dude had like a mental breakdown.
I
remember we were sitting there one day and they were asking, I can't remember what his name was, but they were like, "Oh, where's Bob?" And yeah, he had like come in the morning, had a mental breakdown, and then left. And we're just all sitting there like, we felt so bad for the dude because I'm like, I can't really do anything, but I just like would really suck to have gotten into that kind of position where you're still doing that job 50 years later. And you don't know what people's what people's life is like. You don't know what's happened. Like, I mean, who knows what led up to the point of him having to? Maybe he needed to provide for his family and didn't have time.
And maybe at some point he actually did really enjoy it, and it was just like his job, and he was good with it, right?
Yeah, and like I mean, anyone who has a job, you have a job, you need a job. Like you need money or whatever. But it's sad when you see, and not like I feel bad for them because I don't know the situation, but it is sad when you see people who've gotten in these positions where...
And they actually do feel stuck.
You're stuck.
Yeah, and they're experiencing that, yeah.
Yeah, it was kind of sad. It was like a big wake-up thing for me when I saw that. I'm like, man, never, ever want to work this kind of a job when I'm...
Forever.
It's just, yeah. I never thought I would, but...
Yeah, like it's a big eye-opener sometimes.
Yeah.
But like sometimes... You don't know. Maybe that person actually is very happy in that position, and that's what they want out of life, and that's kudos to them. So yeah, I don't want to like.
Oh, we know a lot of people who've been working jobs for like 50 years and doing the same thing, and it's like I would never want to do that kind of a job or that kind of thing. But it's the same reason why I say I hate construction. Is construction makes me want to like kill myself.
Yeah.
But that's just me. I've talked to I have other buddies who love working outdoors. They could not imagine working inside like on a computer. But I'm like, I couldn't think of anything.
Yeah,
better.
that's like the biggest difference is like you like working on computers, I like working on computers, and there's a lot of people, even our friends and family, who can't sit down on a computer for more than 2 hours.
Well, yeah, I can get out there and like I can enjoy talking to people, but I know there was somebody else I was talking to on Friday who I have a call with every week, and he said I can literally not sit in front of a computer and do anything. Where I'm like I can be there 12 hours a day, no problem.
Yeah, just like sit there and never get up.
He literally can't sit down for like an hour and focus on doing anything on the computer. But I'm like, that's you. That's
yeah, and that's personality.
So,
and that's like the biggest thing about growing up and having different jobs is you learn what you do and don't like and what your natural abilities are.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, there's pros and cons. I think if you, like for me, I moved around so many jobs. Like by the time, I was 18 years old, I had so many jobs that so part of me was, there's good and bad. The good is I was, I did a lot of things: grocery store, restaurant, retail, construction, whatever else there was. Did a whole bunch of things, so it was nice to have that range of like whenever I would go to like an interview, I would usually crush it because I had experience in so many things. I would leave out the fact that I hadn't done it for very long, but no one cares at that age. But that helped pretty much land whatever I wanted. But the thing that sucked about that is I was so used to just working things for such short periods of time that sticking with it for a long time was like a challenge. I would hit like that. Okay, it's been 6 months. I'm like, I want to do something different. But I've been so used to just doing things for 3 months.
That's not necessarily a bad thing because like if you feel like you need challenging and it's not happening,
Yeah, that's true.
right? Then you've grown out of that role. You need to move on to something else.
Yeah,
I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing.
Yeah. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Yeah.
It's an interesting one.
It is. Yeah.
So what else did you do? Anything else, or?
After that, I worked at Serious Coffee.
Oh, yeah, right.
Right? So I met Corey when I was working at the tanning salon. That's when we started dating.
Yeah.
Then I left. I came back, worked at Serious Coffee for only like a few months. Then I moved to Vancouver and went to fashion design school. And when I was going to school, I worked at Red Robin's for like 3 weeks.
Oh, yeah, right.
I wanted to die. It was so depressing.
Making burgers.
Yeah, and it wasn't necessarily I hated working there particularly. It was just like the culture.
That's a big difference, though. It depends. Like, even when I worked at Toast Cafe, at the cafe, like, it's a cafe. Like, you're just making sandwiches and serving people lunch. But the people who worked there were so fun and cool.
Yeah.
I loved working. Like, I actually really enjoyed going to that job because it's just the people. Same with the other jobs, like, Buddy's Toy Store and Music Store. Cool owners. It was just like fun to work there.
That's exactly it.
You can work these crappy jobs, but if the people are awesome, then it just makes it so much better.
Yeah, and that was like my other job because I got the Red Robin's one and I got a Batard bakery. A bakery.
Okay.
And they had just opened up. It was like a family-run place with like the daughter and the son and the daughter and I think the mom and the dad, and they all like made this bakery together, and it was really cool. And yeah, I worked there, I think like just a few times a week while I was going to school, but I actually really enjoyed that. Especially making drinks. I just like making drinks. Like put me at the espresso machine. Those are really fun.
Is that the last one you pretty much had?
I had those, and then after I finished design school, I did an internship with Roxanne Nicky. She was a fashion designer.
Right, yeah.
So I did that, and then I got a job at Lululemon and Kate Spade.
Right.
And that's where I worked. And so I was working at Lululemon as like a fit model and also in their retail. And then I was also working at Kate Spade in retail.
That's crazy when you think about like all those, there's like the vast array of jobs that you've done.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy to think how many things
you
do.
And then that led up to, it was literally I was working at Lululemon and Kate Spade when I got the job at Shopify.
Gotcha. Yeah.
And then my life changed forever.
And then life changed forever.
Yeah, that changed everything.
Yeah, that was interesting working at Shopify. I saw the ad on Facebook of like, work from home. And I'm like, this is totally a scam, but I'm going to send this to Kate.
Yeah.
And
like, oh, this looks like something you would like to do, just working at home.
Yeah, I'm going to like change.
Yes, please. Please let me not bus anymore.
Yeah, that was so funny.
Like, I don't want to bus. I don't want to go on 2 different buses for an hour and a half every day there and back. All right. I needed a little pick me up there.
Yeah, pick me up.
It's so depressing talking about old jobs. Like when Corey was like, "Oh, let's just talk about our jobs," and like, I don't know. It's just like, I'm just so glad I'm not a teenager anymore.
I know my brother's like a teenager right now. He's what, 16, 15? 15. He's 15 years old.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there. I'm like, dude, remember being 15, and I just thought I was so cool. And my like level of I was just so dumb. So dumb. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, just idiot, dumb. Idiot. If I just like look back at who I was, I'm like, idiot. Like, so stupid. So stupid.
Oh, you were a young man.
Just like the way, like, you're so insecure, the things you do, the things you say. I'm like, there's like a major power being a teenager, like that ego and that like insecurity is powerful. Like the things I think you can actually accomplish because you're so freaking delusional as a teenager, like just so delusional that because you're so delusional,
you can convince yourself of anything.
Exactly. You can convince yourself to do anything. Like what you can accomplish because of the ego, and you think you can just do all this stuff is freaking hilarious.
But you can, like, I feel like with that amount of energy, like you can.
If you can focus.
Yeah, if you can focus it.
If you can actually channel that and focus on something, you can accomplish so much as a teenager. But I think the struggle of being a teenager is you have no concept of time. You're so young that for you, like you're indestructible. Life's never going to end. You have perfect health. Like everything's good. So but you have no sense of time because time goes so slow as a teenager. Like, you're thinking in terms of like the school year. And when the school year starts, when you actually think it's only September, it's like September to December, then you have the
Christmas break.
The Christmas break.
Yeah.
And then you're back from like January 1st just till what? When is school? Like June?
To like June. Yeah, like mid-June.
It's like such short amounts of time, but that time between September and June
feels like forever. Yeah.
So it's like time's never going to end. Time moves so slow, but like if you switch that around and we're like, holy cow, if I just actually focus on something for a period of time, well, like what you could achieve in those years is insane.
Well, yeah, like when you're in ninth grade and you're sitting there and you're thinking, oh, I have 3 years left. 9, 10, 11. Oh, no, that's like 4 years left
9, 10, 11, 12.
of like high school.
Mind you,
and those years are the longest years.
Yeah, it's a long time. But it's interesting being a teenager.
But if you were actually like doing one thing, like if you were focusing a lot of energy on like, I don't know, becoming a pro pianist or something, or like, I don't know, doing anything, becoming an artist or building a business or whatever during those 4 years, like 4 years, you can accomplish a lot of stuff.
Yeah, and
but it's just like
being so naive.
You're so young.
Yeah, being naive like that. Like when you can say, "I'm going to start a business." It's like, okay, yeah, you're so naive that you can say, "I'm going to start a business," but you just don't understand
everything that goes into it. But at the same time, that's not a bad thing.
And that's what I mean. Like
it's not. It's like
there's good and
being
bad.
naive is actually good because it allows you to actually do things.
Yeah, because when you're older, you like, okay, I'm going to start this business, and then what do you start doing? You start like listing off, okay, all the pros and cons and all like the things that could happen and blah, blah,
and
blah.
everything you would have to do and how long it takes
and the money and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
You don't think about that as a teenager. You're just like, I'm gonna have to do this.
Yeah,
I'm just gonna straight up go ahead and do
That's
this.
it.
And it just works out. Like, it doesn't work out, but you don't think about all the little minor details you do when you're older. At least that's my experience.
But then it comes to like sticking with something because you're so naive and young. You think that everything's just going to be fun.
Yeah.
And like 3 months later, you're just like bored with it because you realize, it's not happening right now.
Yeah, like you start a business, or like you do an online store, and it's like, you build the online store in a weekend, and then it's Monday. You're like, it's been a weekend. I built my store, and then I'm gonna start selling stuff on Monday, and then like you don't make any sales. And it's like.
And then you realize, I have to like market this.
Oh gosh, yeah, I know. Okay, well.
And then marketing is literally everything, and it's so hard. Well, I mean, it's a lot of work.
You can give someone everything. You can handhold them and give them like all the steps and tell them what to do. People just don't want to do hard work. When it comes, even like me, like it comes down to like the amount of hard work that goes into any of this stuff, and that's like the big struggle as being a teenager is like. Because you don't have the concept of time, you just I'm going to do this. But when you're older and you look back, you're like, hey, this is going to take time, and you actually ask yourself, okay, am I willing to commit like the 5 years it's going to take to actually accomplish this? Whether it's like doing a podcast, doing a YouTube channel, like at least being
give
older,
it 5 years.
Yeah, when you look at something, I look at like out of the context of like, okay, I need to remind myself this is going to take years to actually go anywhere versus a teenager and you're thinking in like terms of like the weekend or the freaking next
literally
week.
The month. Yeah.
Here it's like I don't think the last time I ever thought of anything being like, oh yeah, it's only going to take a week. Nothing takes a week.
Well, and it's also like you probably need other people to help you accomplish whatever you're trying to accomplish, whether it's like
versus thinking you know everything.
Yeah. Like you need people, especially when it comes to business or like anything really. You need other people to help you. Because you're not God. You can't do everything yourself perfectly.
No, super interesting. Well, I had the most fun growing up just selling crap. Like I had a ton of jobs, but I really enjoyed like just selling stuff online. Craigslist. Like if I was selling bikes or selling laptops and computers.
Would you sell them on Craigslist? Is that what you used to do?
Well, there was no Facebook back then.
No,
Facebook Marketplace
came out. Yeah.
No, it was all Craigslist. So for like when I was like super young, I probably started when I was like around 14, maybe even
selling bikes when you were 14.
Yeah, I think I started when I was 14, and I would just buy and sell bicycles. And then I think I even. Mind you, I would buy and sell everything I owned. Like I would buy a laptop, and I know like everything I own. I'd buy a new laptop, and that laptop the next day, I would clean the laptop, take beautiful photos, and it'd be posted for sale the next day. And I would use that laptop while I had it, and then it would sell, and I'd go buy another one. It was just constantly buy, sell, buy, sell. Everything was for sale.
Oh, really?
Everything I had. Every laptop. It's just because I knew I only would buy things that were lower than the actual price it was worth. So I would buy it, and I knew I'd make I can make $200 on this laptop. I can make $500, $1,000 here.
You would just cycle through laptops all the time?
Yeah, I remember I'd go through quite a few laptops because of, I would just get a good deal on them. And even if I could make $100, I would post it for more. And then when it's sold, it's sold. And same with the bikes. I had I think I had 5 bikes at one given point. And I would just ride whatever bike I happened to have at the time, but everything was always for sale. Everything.
Everything you see is for sale. That's
why we own nothing. We have nothing in our house because everything has been sold.
Yeah, nothing's changed.
No, it's fun. It's more fun. I don't want to keep something if I know I can get more money out of it. So
we're going to keep this little camera for a while.
Yeah, we're going to keep this bad boy.
Yeah.
I think it's really nice.
I'm excited.
So, yeah, but that's it. And
That's
I mean,
it.
other than that, my last job was pretty much Toast Cafe, and that's when I went away, and after that it was Sydney Auto Detailing, then moved to Africa and started that business. So it was that was my last job, and then after a few things, then I went to Shopify. But
oh wait, then you became a developer.
Yeah, I went to school and then worked the software company. So I did do software development for a while. That was really fun. I really liked that.
Yeah. That was I feel like that was your turning point for jobs, at least, because before that there was a massive between Toast Cafe and then your job, there was massive
that's what everyone,
time where you were just working on businesses.
Well, I think that's everyone. Everyone pretty much is you're working lame jobs up until
some kind of schooling
18, 19,
or other
20,
skill.
And then you go to school, you start businesses, you're doing other stuff once you get into your early 20s. And then when you graduate school or whatever, then you have
better jobs.
You're
higher
moving
paying
into
jobs.
more an actual career, something you want to do. So no, it's what we did. I just did businesses over at school. So kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But
fascinating.
Yeah, so that's it. Maybe we should get a discussion with a bunch of people. I'd be really curious to know everyone's flow and what they did. Did they stick with something when they were super young? Did you hold on to that? Did you?
Yeah, because I know a few people who worked at Series Coffee for 4 years while they were going to school.
Yeah, I mean it makes sense. It makes sense, but
yeah,
interesting.
Well, I think that's all that we have for this podcast.
That's it.
This
is our first. This is number one or two?
Number 2. I mean, I think we're gonna also have our other podcasts up on this channel.
We have way different ideas. This is our first one, so we're just getting we're getting new on that. We're new on this. We're getting started. So,
but I really honestly, the Rodecaster has been
great.
The best thing, because even just sitting here is so much more enjoyable than when we were recording our other podcasts.
Before we had the Yeti mic, which is amazing. The blue Yeti mic is fantastic. But we only had one, so we're both trying to share one mic. Whereas these mics I really, really like.
These are amazing.
And having the mixer, your laptop, just being able to do everything.
Yeah, and we have our own mic, and we can just relax, and you can play fun things.
Just like that. So you gotta play something else. Let's do what else?
What else can we play?
Got on here? I think we got the laughing.
Yeah.
We got the clapping.
Ooh.
That's a good one.
Fell flat.
When we were playing around,
when
we were playing around with this in the beginning, we were pretty good. We kind of
was fun.
What was going on. Oh, boom.
Boom, boom, ching.
And then.
Oh, we need to start using these.
I know.
Way more.
Way more fun.
Way more.
It's good stuff.
Cool. All right. Thanks for listening. Thanks for
everybody.
watching. Thanks for being here with Corey and Kate. All right. We appreciate you, and we will see you in the next podcast.
We'll be back.
We'll be back.
See you later.